So I want to talk a little bit about money and the idea of it being taboo. Why is it easier to talk about sex with couples than it is to talk about money?
It is so much easier for people to talk about sex than money. I think that I have a bunch of hypotheses on this. One of them is I think the way that the conversation has evolved about sex over the last several decades has made it more accessible. We're way more open, way more open.
And fun.
And it's not as taboo anymore. Whereas with money, there's a connection to so many other parts of us. It's our history. It's our past. It's our future. Will we be successful? It's some statement or some judgment about, am I a success? Am I a failure? Do I make good decisions? I'm bad with money. Sex is in many ways very straightforward for people. Is it like super simple to talk about? It can be very complex, of course. I think money's way harder to talk about than sex for most people.
That's an interesting way to think about it, is it defines, some people feel like it defines their future self.
And it's the stories you've been told about yourself, the stories you've been told about your family and their successes and failures with money. Don't do that. Your grandpa, this happened to your grandpa. Don't trust this person. So it's these very ingrained beliefs. I think the more we talk about, that's why the Breadwinners is so powerful. We have got to have these conversations. They need to be out there. We need to be open with real people having these dialogues. And just like sex, I think if we can get these depictions of what does it look like to be out there hustling, starting a small business? What are all of the different ways that work can look like? Work does not look the way it looked 40 years ago.
Right.
Just if you think back to the most taboo things about sex, Lucille Ball, when she was pregnant, they wanted to capture her pregnancy on her show. And the networks were basically we can never say the word pregnant on air. That is vulgar. Today, we talk about we were talking about our pregnancies here, right? We're talking about how we feed our children and, normalizing all of the different ways that people and parents feed their children today. And the conversation has evolved. We've got to get that conversation about money to a new place, transparency, openness, a willingness to talk about, really kind of the meat and potatoes of it.
It's exciting. And you guys are a critical piece of it. So I hope that for our kids, we talk about this being generational work. The work that I believe I'm doing here is hopefully generational, is we can normalize conversations so our children can be open and talk about all sorts of things. So things don't feel taboo. There'll always be taboo things, but
there's that whole thing of, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do your kids talk about that? Is that a thing? My daughter came home from school and started saying that. She started thinking,
how old is she?
What am I going to be? She's 5.
Okay.
She's like, what am I going to be when I grow up? Or something like that. I assume she picked it up from school.
Right.
We were talking about, I do this and what is work? Just right? What is work? And she said, Dad's a doctor, but Mom's a boss. Yeah. And I loved it. Oh my gosh, my friends were cracking up. But it's
awesome.
I've never said to my daughter ever.
Right.
Ever. These were our first conversations at the start of kindergarten, right? Of what will I be when I grow up? And I don't even think I used the word boss. I don't even know where she got that.
Epic.
But it was so awesome that it's one of my coolest memories, because I thought, maybe she just thinks of me, I tell her what to do. But it wasn't and Mom's bossy.
No,
it was and Mom's a boss. I thought that was so cool.
It's really cool. I actually think it goes back to what you're modeling, what she sees. It's not what you're saying. It's not what she's hearing. It's what she's seeing. And I told the story in an episode that will air before this one, but there's a story about the CEO and the founder of Post Cereal back in the early 1900s. And he brought his daughter to all of the meetings. And she sat and listened to all the meetings. And he died unexpectedly when she was in her 20s. And in the will, he left the business to her. And she walked into the first board meeting at a table full of men. And they said they had a plan. And they were like, okay, sweetie, here's the plan. We're going to take over the company. And she was like, no, you're not. I'm running this company. And she knew exactly how to run the company because she had spent years going to meetings with her dad, and it's like osmosis. So I think in a lot of ways, your daughter's just watching you be a boss.
It was an awesome moment. I loved it. And whatever she wants to do or be, we'll support her. I want her to live whatever her dreams are, but it is a really special part of
That's so nice.
parenting.